Hello, my name is Ariel. I am learning English. This is my story. I want to share my life in New York and tell you about my amazing teacher. You can read my story and learn English with me. It's a sunny morning. I'm in a cafe. Two men are sitting next to me. They are speaking English. I don't understand everything. I am learning English, but I'm still a beginner and don't know many words. I try to talk to them in simple English. They understand me, and I feel happy. I tell them I want to learn English. They say they are from Canada and are visiting New York for work. We talk for a few minutes. When it's time for me to leave, I say goodbye. They give me their email and ask me to visit them in Canada. After this talk, I practice English every day. I listen to English songs and read simple books. In 3 months, my English gets better. It's good, but I want to learn more, so I decide to go to New York to study English. When I arrive in New York, I go to a school. My first class is on Tuesday. I meet my teacher and the other students. My teacher is a kind woman. She smiles and says hello. We tell her where we are from. Then the lesson starts. The teacher asks how we learn English. She says she will teach us an easy way to learn. She tells us we don't need to study many books. We just need to use English every day. This is great for me because I don't like reading many books. We then talk about what is important when learning a language. The teacher says, we need language to talk to people. It helps us share and understand ideas. The best way to learn is by using the language. She explains that in this class, we will speak a lot. Many students memorize words but don't practice speaking. She says, you need to learn new words and grammar, but you don't have to study them too much. I'll show you a simple way. I like what she says. We continue the lesson by talking about our favorite activities. We speak in pairs or with the teacher. We talk the whole lesson. I really enjoy it. This way of learning is perfect for me. If you want to learn English, use it to talk. Chapter 2. The next day, I wake up early. I am excited to go to school. I have breakfast quickly and leave my apartment. I take the bus to the school. It is a little far, but I like taking the bus because I can see the city. When I arrive at school, I feel nervous. I don't know what to expect. I walk into the classroom and see my teacher and my classmates. The teacher smiles at me. I feel happy to see her smile. She says, "Welcome to class, Ariel." I smile back and sit down. The classroom is not very big, but it is comfortable. There are 10 students in the class. Some of them are from different countries. One student is from Brazil, another is from Japan, and there is one from Spain. They all speak a little English, but they also speak their own languages. The teacher begins the lesson. She asks everyone to introduce themselves. One by one, we say our names and where we are from. I am nervous, but I take a deep breath and say, "My name is Ariel. I am from Pakistan." The teacher smiles and says, "Nice to meet you, Ariel." I feel good. The lesson starts with simple words. The teacher shows us a picture of a dog. She asks, "What is this?" I say, "It is a dog." The teacher smiles and says, "Very good. I feel proud." We do this for many things in the classroom. The teacher shows pictures of animals, food, and things in the classroom. We say the words aloud, and the teacher helps us. After a while, The teacher asks us to practice in pairs. I sit next to a student from Brazil. His name is Carlos. He smiles at me and says, "Hello." I say, "Hello." We start practicing together. The teacher tells us to ask each other questions. I ask Carlos, "What is your name?" He answers, "My name is Carlos." Then Carlos asks me, "Where are you from?" I say, "I am from Pakistan." We practice this for a few minutes. Then the teacher asks us to change partners. I sit next to a student from Spain. Her name is Maria. She speaks slowly, and I can understand her better. We ask each other questions again. I ask, "Where do you live?" Maria says, "I live in Madrid." I smile and say, "Madrid is a beautiful city." She nods and says, "Yes, it is." The teacher then tells us to listen to a short story. She reads the story aloud. The story is about a man and his dog. The dog's name is Max. The man takes the dog to the park every day. The dog loves to run and play. The teacher asks us questions about the story. "What is the dog's name?" she asks. I answer, "Max." She asks, "Where does the man take the dog?" I say, "To the park." The teacher says, "Very good." We practice listening and answering questions for 30 minutes. After that, the teacher gives us a short break. I go to the bathroom and drink some water. When I come back, I feel ready for the next part of the lesson. The next part is about grammar. The teacher explains how to use is and are in sentences. She writes on the board, "This is a book, and these are books." She explains that is for one thing, and are is for more than one thing. I write the sentences in my notebook and practice with my classmates. Then, we practice with I am and you are. The teacher says, "I am a student." She asks us to say our sentences. I say, "I am learning English." The teacher says, "Very good." We continue practicing these sentences for a few minutes. At the end of the class, the teacher asks us to write a short paragraph about our family. I think for a while and write, "I have a small family. I have a mother, a father, and one brother. My brother's name is Ahmed. He is 10 years old. I love my family." I feel proud of my work. The teacher reads some of the paragraphs aloud. When she reads mine, she smiles and says, "Very good, Ariel." I feel happy. After the lesson, I say goodbye to my classmates. I feel happy because I learned new words and practiced speaking. I leave the classroom and take the bus back to my apartment. On the way, I think about everything I learned. I want to keep practicing every day. When I get home, I sit down with my notebook. I write down the new words I learned today. I also write the sentences we practiced. I repeat them out loud. I want to remember them. I feel excited about my English journey. I know I have a lot to learn, but I am ready. Tomorrow, I will go to school again, and I will practice more. I am learning English, and I will keep improving. Chapter 3. The next day, I wake up early again. I feel excited because today is my second English class. I quickly get ready, have breakfast, and leave the house. The weather is nice, and I enjoy the walk to the bus stop. When I arrive at school, I see my classmates. We all smile and greet each other. I sit down in my seat, and the teacher comes in. She smiles and says, "Good morning, everyone." We all say, "Good morning," back. Today the teacher has a new lesson for us. She writes a sentence on the board. This is a pen. She explains that this means one thing, and pen is a thing we can see. We all repeat the sentence together. This is a pen. Next, the teacher shows us more things in the classroom, like a book, a chair, and a table. She asks us, "What is this?" And we say, "This is a book," or "This is a chair," and so on. It is easy, and I feel happy because I know the words. After practicing with things in the classroom, the teacher tells us to do a small exercise. She gives each of us a picture. The picture shows different objects, a ball, a cup, and a hat. We need to say what each object is. I look at my picture and say, "This is a ball. This is a cup. This is a hat." The teacher smiles and says, "Very good, Ariel." Then the teacher gives us a few new words to learn. She writes them on the board: cat, dog, apple, and house. We repeat these words many times. I feel good because I can say them easily. The teacher explains how to use them in sentences like, "This is a cat," or "This is an apple." After that, the teacher asks us to practice with a partner. I sit next to Carlos again. We take turns asking each other questions. I ask, "What is this?" and show him a picture of a dog. He answers, "This is a dog." Then Carlos asks me, "What is this?" and shows me a picture of an apple. I answer, "This is an apple." We both laugh and feel happy to practice together. Next, the teacher talks about the word there. She says, "There is a book." She explains that "there is" means something exists or is in a place. She shows us a picture of a chair and says, "There is a chair." We repeat after her, "There is a chair." Then she shows a picture of two chairs and says, "There are two chairs." We practice saying, "There are two chairs." The teacher asks us to use "there is" and "there are" with different objects in the classroom. I look around and say, "There is a table. There are 3 books." The teacher smiles and says, "Great job, Ariel." After practicing "there is" and "there are," the teacher gives us a short break. I go outside for a few minutes to get some fresh air. I talk to my classmates during the break. Carlos asks me, "How are you?" I say, "I am good, thank you." "How are you?" Carlos smiles and says, "I am fine." When the break is over, we return to the classroom. The teacher gives us another exercise. This time, we need to answer some questions. She asks, "What is your favorite color?" I think for a moment and say, "My favorite color is blue." The teacher writes my answer on the board and asks another question. "What is your favorite food?" I answer, "My favorite food is pizza." The other students answer the questions too. We all take turns sharing our favorite colors and foods. It is fun to learn about each other. After that, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions. She explains how to say, "What is your name? Where are you from? And how old are you?" We practice asking and answering these questions with our partners. I ask Maria, "How old are you?" She answers, "I am 25 years old." Then Maria asks me, "How old are you?" I answer, "I am 30 years old." The teacher also explains the difference between "I am" and "you are." She says, "I am a student." Then she says, "You are a teacher." We practice these sentences with our partners. I say, "I am learning English," and my partner says, "You are my classmate." The lesson continues, and we practice speaking, listening, and writing. I feel like I'm getting better every day. The teacher is patient, and I can ask questions when I don't understand something. Today, I learned many new things, and I feel proud of myself. When the class is over, the teacher says, "Good job, everyone. See you tomorrow." I pack my things and say goodbye to my classmates. I walk outside and feel happy because I learned so much today. I think about everything I practiced. I get on the bus to go home. On the way, I look out the window and think about my English lessons. I know it is not easy, but I want to keep learning. Every day, I am getting better at speaking, reading, and understanding English. When I get home, I sit down and write in my notebook. I write the new words I learned today, like there is, there are, apple, and dog. I practice writing simple sentences like there is a book and I am a student. I repeat the sentences out loud to remember them. Tomorrow is another day, and I will continue to practice. I know learning English takes time, but I am ready for the challenge. Chapter 4. The next morning, I wake up feeling excited. Today is my third English class. I get ready quickly, eat my breakfast, and leave my house. The weather is sunny, and I enjoy the walk to the bus stop. It's a nice start to my day. When I arrive at school, I see my classmates. We all smile and wave to each other. I sit in my usual seat. The teacher comes in and says, "Good morning, everyone." We all reply, "Good morning," with big smiles. Today, the teacher has a new lesson for us. She writes a new word on the board, family. She asks, "What is a family?" I think for a moment and then raise my hand. The teacher calls on me, and I say, "A family is a group of people who live together." The teacher smiles and says, "Good answer, Ariel." Then the teacher asks us to talk about our families. She asks, "Who is in your family?" I raise my hand again and say, "I have a mother, a father, and one brother." The teacher says, "Great, Ariel. What about the rest of you?" My classmates also talk about their families. Carlos says, "I have a brother and a sister." Maria says, "I have two sisters." Next, the teacher asks us to practice talking about family members in pairs. I sit next to Carlos again. I ask, "Who is in your family?" Carlos answers, "I have a mother, a father, and two children." Then Carlos asks me, "Who is in your family?" I answer, "I have a mother, a father, and one brother." The teacher explains more about family members. She writes new words on the board: mother, father, brother, sister, grandfather, and grandmother. We repeat the words many times, and the teacher asks us to make sentences. I say, My mother is kind, and Carlos says, my father is funny. We practice making sentences about family members. The teacher then gives us an exercise. She shows us a family tree on the board. The tree has a grandfather, a grandmother, a father, a mother, a brother, and a sister. The teacher asks, "Who is the mother?" I point to the person and say, "The mother is here." Then she asks, "Who is the grandfather?" I point to the person and say, "The grandfather is here." We continue practicing with the family tree, and I feel confident. After that, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions about family. She writes on the board, "Who is your mother?" "How many brothers do you have?" "Do you have any sisters?" She explains how to ask these questions and gives us examples. I ask Maria, "How many brothers do you have?" Maria answers, "I have one brother." Then Maria asks me, "Do you have any sisters?" I say, "No, I don't have any sisters." We practice asking and answering questions with our partners. Then, the teacher gives us a new topic, hobbies. She writes the word hobby on the board and explains that a hobby is something we like to do in our free time. She asks, "What are your hobbies?" I think for a moment and then say, "My hobby is reading." The teacher smiles and says, "Great, Ariel." The teacher then asks the class to talk about our hobbies. Carlos says, "My hobby is playing football." Maria says, "I like painting." We all talk about our hobbies, and it's interesting to hear what everyone likes to do in their free time. After that, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions about hobbies. She writes, "What is your hobby?" And "What do you like to do in your free time?" We practice asking and answering these questions. I ask Carlos, "What is your hobby?" He answers, "My hobby is playing football." Carlos asks me, "What is your hobby?" I say, "My hobby is reading books." The teacher then explains some new words related to hobbies. She writes on the board, reading, swimming, dancing, singing, cooking, and traveling. We repeat the words after her, and then we practice making sentences. I say, "I like reading books," and Carlos says, "I like swimming." We all practice talking about our hobbies. Next, the teacher asks us to write a short paragraph about our hobbies. I think for a while and then write, "My hobby is reading books." I like reading in my free time. My favorite books are about history and science. I also like watching movies. I feel happy with my paragraph. When the class is over, the teacher says, "Good job, everyone. See you tomorrow." I pack my things and say goodbye to my classmates. I feel proud of myself because I learned so many new things today. I walk out of the classroom with a big smile. I get on the bus to go home. On the bus, I think about everything I learned in class. I am happy with how much my English is improving. I want to keep learning every day. When I get home, I sit down with my notebook and write the new words I learned today. Family, hobby, mother, father, brother, sister, and more. I also write some sentences about my hobbies and my family. I practice saying them aloud to remember them better. Tomorrow is another day, and I know I will learn more. I feel excited about my English journey. I will keep practicing, and I know I will get better every day. Chapter 5. The next day, I wake up early, feeling excited. Today is my 4th English class. I get ready quickly, eat my breakfast, and leave my apartment. The weather is nice, and I walk to the bus stop with a smile on my face. When I arrive at school, I see my classmates. We all greet each other with smiles. I sit in my seat, and the teacher comes into the classroom. She smiles and says, "Good morning, everyone." We all say, "Good morning," in return. Today, the teacher has a new lesson for us. She writes a word on the board, weather. She asks, "What is the weather like today?" I think for a moment and say, "It is sunny." The teacher smiles and says, "Very good, Ariel." Then she asks the class to talk about the weather. Carlos says, "It is cold in Brazil." Maria says, "It is warm in Spain." The teacher explains different kinds of weather. She writes words on the board, sunny, rainy, windy, cloudy, and snowy. We repeat the words after her. She asks us to use these words in sentences. I say, "It is sunny today," and Carlos says, "It is rainy in Brazil." We all practice talking about the weather in our countries. Next, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions about the weather. She writes on the board, "What is the weather like today? Is it sunny? Is it rainy?" We practice asking these questions with our classmates. I ask Maria, "Is it sunny today?" She answers, "Yes, it is." Maria asks me, "Is it rainy today?" I say, "No, it is not." After that, the teacher gives us an exercise. She shows us pictures of different weather. One picture shows the sun, and another shows rain. She asks us, "What is the weather like in this picture?" I look at the picture of the sun and say, "It is sunny." Then she shows a picture of rain and asks, "What is the weather like here?" I say, "It is rainy." We continue practicing with different pictures. I feel confident because I can talk about the weather now. The teacher is happy with our progress. Next, the teacher writes some new words on the board. Transportation. She asks, "How do you travel in your country?" I think for a moment and say, "I travel by bus." The teacher smiles and says, "Good answer, Ariel." She then asks the class, "How do you travel in your country?" Carlos says, "I travel by car." Maria says, "I travel by train." The teacher explains different types of transportation. She writes words on the board: bus, train, car, bike, and airplane. We repeat the words after her. Then the teacher asks us to make sentences. I say, "I travel by bus," and Carlos says, "I travel by car." We all practice talking about how we travel in our countries. After that, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions about transportation. She writes on the board, "How do you travel to school? Do you travel by bus? Do you travel by train?" We practice asking these questions with our classmates. I ask Maria, "How do you travel to school?" She answers, "I travel by bus." Then Maria asks me, "How do you travel to school?" I say, "I travel by bus too." The teacher gives us another exercise. She shows us a picture of a car, a bike, and an airplane. She asks, "How do you travel in this picture?" I look at the car and say, "It is a car." "You travel by car." Then she shows a picture of a bike and asks, "How do you travel here?" I say, "It is a bike." You travel by bike. After the exercise, the teacher talks about a new topic, food. She writes the word food on the board. She asks, "What is your favorite food?" I think for a moment and say, "My favorite food is pizza." The teacher smiles and says, "Yum, pizza is delicious." Then she asks the class about their favorite foods. Carlos says, "My favorite food is pasta." Maria says, "I like sushi." The teacher writes more food words on the board: pizza, pasta, sushi, burger, and salad. We repeat the words after her. The teacher explains how to make sentences with these words. I say, "I like pizza," and Carlos says, "I like pasta." We practice talking about our favorite foods. Next, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions about food. She writes on the board, "What is your favorite food? Do you like pizza? Do you like pasta?" We practice asking and answering these questions. I ask Maria, "Do you like pizza?" She answers, "Yes, I do." Then Maria asks me, "Do you like pasta?" I say, "Yes, I do." The teacher gives us a short break. I go outside for a few minutes to stretch my legs. I talk to Carlos during the break. He tells me that he likes to travel a lot. We both agree that traveling is fun. When the break is over, we return to the classroom. The teacher asks us to write a short paragraph about transportation and food. I think for a while, and then write, "I travel by bus to school. My favorite food is pizza. I like eating pizza with my friends." At the end of the class, the teacher says, "Great job today, everyone." We all smile and pack our things. I say goodbye to my classmates and leave the classroom. I feel proud because I have learned so much today. I get on the bus to go home. On the way, I think about all the new words I learned today: weather, transportation, and food. I feel happy because I can use these words in sentences now. When I get home, I write them in my notebook and practice saying them aloud. Tomorrow, I will learn more, and I look forward to it. I am happy with how much I have learned so far, and I will keep practicing every day. Chapter 6. The next day, I wake up early. I feel excited for my English class. I get ready quickly, eat my breakfast, and leave my house. The weather is cool, and I enjoy walking to the bus stop. I feel happy because I am learning English. When I arrive at school, I see my classmates. We all smile and greet each other. I sit in my seat, and the teacher comes in. She says, "Good morning, everyone." We all reply, "Good morning," with big smiles. Today, the teacher has a new lesson for us. She writes the word shopping on the board. She asks, "Do you like shopping?" I think for a moment and say, "Yes, I like shopping." The teacher smiles and says, "Great, Ariel." Then the teacher talks about different things we can buy when we go shopping. She writes words on the board: clothes, shoes, food, and books. We repeat the words after her. The teacher asks us to make sentences with these words. I say, I buy clothes, and Carlos says, I buy food. We all practice talking about shopping. Next, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions about shopping. She writes on the board, do you like shopping? What do you buy? Where do you go shopping? We practice asking and answering these questions with our classmates. I ask Maria, what do you buy? She answers, I buy clothes. Then Maria asks me, where do you go shopping? I say, I go shopping at the mall. After that, the teacher explains how to talk about prices. She writes on the board, how much is this? It is $10. She explains that we use the question, how much is this? When we want to know the price of something. We practice asking about prices. I ask Carlos, how much is this shirt? Carlos answers, it is $15. Then Carlos asks me, how much is this book? I say, it is $5. The teacher gives us a small exercise. She shows us pictures of things we can buy, like a shirt, a hat, and a book. She asks, how much is the shirt? I look at the picture and say, it is $20. Then she asks, how much is the hat? I say, it is $10. After that, the teacher writes some new words on the board. Colors. She asks, what color is your shirt? I look at my shirt and say, my shirt is blue. The teacher smiles and says, good, Ariel. Then she asks the class about their shirts. Carlos says, my shirt is red. Maria says, my shirt is green. We all talk about the colors of our clothes. Next, the teacher asks, what is your favorite color? I think for a moment and say, my favorite color is blue. The teacher writes the sentence on the board, my favorite color is blue. We all practice saying it. Then the teacher asks the class. Carlos says, my favorite color is red. Maria says, my favorite color is yellow. The teacher gives us another exercise. She shows us a picture of a rainbow with many colors. She asks, what color is the sky? I look at the picture and say, the sky is blue. Then she asks, what color is the grass? I say, the grass is green. After that, the teacher talks about the days of the week. She writes the days on the board, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We repeat the days of the week after her. Then the teacher asks, what day is it today? I think for a moment and say, today is Wednesday. The teacher smiles and says, very good, Ariel. Next, the teacher asks, what do you do on Monday? I think about it and say, on Monday I study English. The teacher writes my sentence on the board. Then she asks the class, what do you do on Tuesday? Carlos says, on Tuesday I work. Maria says, on Tuesday I go to the gym. The teacher asks us to practice talking about the days of the week. I say, on Wednesday I go to school. Carlos says, on Thursday I play football. We practice making sentences about what we do on different days. Then, the teacher writes the word food on the board again. She asks, what food do you like? I think for a moment and say, I like pizza. The teacher writes my answer on the board. Then she asks the class, "What food do you like?" Carlos says, "I like pasta." Maria says, "I like sushi." The teacher explains that we can use the word like to talk about things we enjoy. She writes more sentences on the board. I like reading, I like singing, and I like traveling. We all repeat these sentences together. After the lesson, the teacher says, "Great job, everyone. See you tomorrow." We all pack our things and say goodbye to each other. I feel proud because I learned so many new words today. I leave the classroom with a big smile. I get on the bus to go home. On the bus, I think about all the things I learned today. I can talk about shopping, prices, colors, the days of the week, and food. I feel happy because my English is getting better. When I get home, I sit down and write the new words in my notebook. I practice making sentences with them. I say, "I like pizza." My favorite color is blue, and today is Wednesday. I repeat the sentences out loud to remember them. Tomorrow, I will learn more. I am excited to keep learning English. I know that every day I am getting better. I will keep practicing, and I will keep improving. Chapter 7. The next day, I wake up early. I feel happy because today is my 7th English class. I get ready quickly, eat my breakfast, and leave my house. The sun is shining, and I walk to the bus stop with a smile on my face. I'm excited for class today. When I arrive at school, I see my classmates. We all wave and say hello to each other. I sit in my seat, and the teacher comes in. She says, "Good morning, everyone." We all answer, "Good morning," with big smiles. Today, the teacher has a new lesson for us. She writes the word restaurant on the board. She asks, "Do you like eating in restaurants?" I think for a moment and say, "Yes, I like eating in restaurants." The teacher smiles and says, "Great, Ariel." Then the teacher explains what we can do at a restaurant. She writes some words on the board: menu, waiter, order, food, and drink. We repeat the words after her. The teacher asks us to make sentences with these words. I say, "I look at the menu," and Carlos says, "I order food." We practice talking about restaurants. Next, the teacher teaches us how to ask questions at a restaurant. She writes on the board, "Can I see the menu? What would you like to order? What do you want to drink?" We practice asking these questions with our classmates. I ask Maria, "Can I see the menu?" She answers, "Yes, here is the menu." Then Maria asks me, "What would you like to order?" I say, "I would like a pizza." After that, the teacher explains how to talk about food in a restaurant. She writes on the board, starter, main course, and dessert. She explains that a starter is the first dish, the main course is the main food, and dessert is the sweet food after the meal. We repeat the words after her. I say, "I want a starter," and Carlos says, "I want dessert." We all practice making sentences about food in a restaurant. The teacher gives us a role-playing exercise. She says, "Now let's practice." You are in a restaurant. One of you is the waiter and the other is the customer. I am the customer and Carlos is the waiter. I say, "Can I see the menu?" Carlos says, "Yes, here is the menu." "What would you like to order?" I answer, I would like a salad for the starter, pasta for the main course, and ice cream for dessert. Carlos writes it down and says, Thank you. Your food will come soon. We both laugh and practice again with different orders. Next, the teacher talks about hobbies. She writes the word hobby on the board again. She asks, What is your hobby? I think for a moment and say, My hobby is reading. The teacher writes my answer on the board. Then she asks the class, What is your hobby? Carlos says, I like playing football. Maria says, I like drawing. We all talk about our hobbies, and it's interesting to hear what everyone likes to do. The teacher writes more hobbies on the board: reading, swimming, painting, dancing, and traveling. We repeat these words after her. Then she asks us to use these words in sentences. I say, I like reading books, and Carlos says, I like swimming in the pool. We practice talking about our hobbies. Then, the teacher teaches us how to ask about hobbies. She writes, What is your favorite hobby? Do you like swimming? Do you like painting? We practice asking and answering these questions. I ask Maria, Do you like dancing? She answers, Yes, I do. Then Maria asks me, Do you like traveling? I say, Yes, I like traveling. After that, the teacher gives us a short break. I go outside to stretch my legs. During the break, I talk to Carlos. He tells me that his favorite hobby is playing football. I tell him that I like reading books. We both agree that hobbies are fun. When the break is over, we return to the classroom. The teacher writes some new words on the board. Sports. She asks, What sports do you like? I think for a moment and say, I like swimming. The teacher smiles and writes my answer on the board. Then she asks the class, What sports do you like? Carlos says, I like football. Maria says, I like tennis. Next, the teacher teaches us how to talk about sports. She writes the words football, basketball, tennis, and swimming on the board. We practice saying these words together. The teacher then asks us to use these words in sentences. I say, I like swimming, and Carlos says, I like football. We practice talking about sports. The teacher then gives us a new exercise. She shows us pictures of different sports, and we have to say the name of the sport. One picture shows a football, and I say, It's football. Another picture shows a basketball, and Carlos says, It's basketball. We continue practicing with the pictures. The teacher ends the lesson by saying, Good job today, everyone. See you tomorrow. We all pack our things and say goodbye to each other. I feel happy because I learned so much today. I feel proud of my progress in English. I leave the classroom with a smile. I get on the bus to go home. On the bus, I think about everything I learned today. I can talk about restaurants, hobbies, and sports. I feel happy because I am getting better at English. When I get home, I sit down and write the new words I learned in my notebook. I practice making sentences with the new words. I say, I like football, I want dessert, and my hobby is reading. I repeat these sentences to remember them better. Tomorrow, I will learn more. I'm excited for the next lesson. Every day, my English gets better. I will keep practicing and improving. Chapter 8. Today is my 8th English class. I wake up early because I feel excited. I quickly get dressed, eat my breakfast, and leave my house. It is sunny outside, and I walk to the bus stop with a smile. I am happy because I am learning English every day. When I get to school, I see my friends. We all smile and say hello. I sit down at my desk, and the teacher comes in. She says, "Good morning, everyone." We all reply, "Good morning," with big smiles. Today the teacher has a new lesson. She writes the word travel on the board. She asks, "Do you like to travel?" I think for a moment and say, "Yes, I like to travel." The teacher smiles and says, "Great, Ariel." Then she writes other words on the board: holiday, trip, vacation, and destination. We repeat the words after her. The teacher asks, "Where do you like to travel?" I think about it and say, "I like to travel to the beach." Carlos says, "I like to travel to the mountains." Maria says, "I like to travel to the city." We all talk about where we like to travel. Next, the teacher teaches us how to talk about travel plans. She writes some sentences on the board. I am going on holiday. I am traveling to Paris, and I will visit my family. We practice these sentences. I say, I am going on holiday to the beach, and Carlos says, I am traveling to the mountains. The teacher gives us a role-playing exercise. She says, now let's practice talking about travel plans. One of you will be the travel agent, and the other will be the customer. I am the customer, and Carlos is the travel agent. I ask, can you help me? I want to go to the beach. Carlos says, yes, I can. I will book a trip for you. We both laugh and practice again with different destinations. After that, the teacher talks about transportation again. She writes the word flight on the board. She asks, have you ever been on a plane? I think and say, yes, I have been on a plane. The teacher smiles and asks, where did you go? I answer, I went to Dubai. Then the teacher asks the class, have you ever been on a plane? Carlos says, yes, I went to Brazil. Maria says, yes, I went to France. The teacher explains the different types of transportation for travel. She writes on the board, plane, train, bus, car, and boat. We repeat the words after her. Then the teacher asks us how we travel when we go on holiday. I say, I travel by plane, and Carlos says, I travel by bus. Maria says, I travel by train. The teacher gives us a short exercise. She shows us pictures of different types of transportation. She asks, what is this? I look at a picture of a plane and say, it's a plane. Then she shows a picture of a train and asks, what is this? Carlos answers, it's a train. We continue practicing with different pictures. Next, the teacher talks about food again. She writes restaurant on the board and asks, do you like to eat at restaurants? I say, yes, I like eating at restaurants. The teacher smiles and writes, I like eating at restaurants. Then she asks, what food do you like to eat in restaurants? I think and say, I like eating pizza at restaurants. Carlos says, I like eating pasta. Maria says, I like eating sushi. The teacher then explains how to order food in a restaurant. She writes some questions on the board. What would you like to eat? What would you like to drink? Can I take your order? We practice asking these questions. I ask Carlos, what would you like to eat? Carlos answers, I would like a burger. Carlos asks me, what would you like to drink? I say, I would like a juice. After that, the teacher gives us another exercise. She shows us a picture of a restaurant and asks, what would you like to eat here? I look at the picture and say, I would like a pizza. Carlos says, I would like a salad. We all practice ordering food and drinks from the menu. The teacher talks about shopping again. She writes the word store on the board. She asks, do you like shopping in stores? I think and say, yes, I like shopping. The teacher asks the class, what do you like to buy in stores? Carlos says, I like to buy clothes. Maria says, I like to buy books. I say, I like to buy shoes. Next, the teacher teaches us how to talk about shopping. She writes some sentences on the board. I am going shopping. I am buying clothes. And I need to buy a new phone. We repeat the sentences after her. I say, I am going shopping to buy shoes. And Carlos says, I am going shopping to buy clothes. The teacher gives us a role-play exercise again. One of us is the shopper, and the other is the shop assistant. I am the shopper, and Maria is the shop assistant. I ask, do you have this shirt in a larger size? Maria says, yes, we have it in a larger size. We practice asking for different items in the store. After the lesson, the teacher says, great job today, everyone. Keep practicing your English. We all smile and pack our things. I feel proud of myself because I am learning so many new things. I leave the classroom and walk to the bus stop. On the bus, I think about all the words I learned today. I can talk about travel, transportation, food, and shopping. I feel happy because my English is getting better every day. When I get home, I write the new words in my notebook. I practice using them in sentences. I say, I like shopping. I am traveling to the beach, and I would like a pizza. I feel proud of how much I have learned. Tomorrow, I will learn more. I am excited for the next lesson. Every day my English is getting better, and I will keep practicing. I know that I can speak English well soon. Chapter 9. Today is my 9th English class. I wake up early again because I am excited. I quickly eat my breakfast and leave the house. It's a cold morning, so I wear my jacket. I walk to the bus stop and wait for the bus. I feel happy because I love learning English. When I arrive at school, I see my classmates. We all smile and greet each other. I sit in my seat, and the teacher comes in. She says, "Good morning, everyone." We all say, "Good morning," back to her. Today, the teacher has a new lesson. She writes the word weather on the board. She asks, "How is the weather today?" I look outside and say, "It is sunny." The teacher smiles and says, "Great, Ariel." She writes more words on the board. Sunny, rainy, cloudy, windy, and snowy. We repeat the words after her. The teacher asks, What is the weather like in your country? I think and say, in my country, it is sunny. Carlos says, in my country, it is rainy. Maria says, in my country, it is snowy. We all talk about the weather in our countries. Next, the teacher teaches us how to ask about the weather. She writes some sentences on the board. What is the weather like today? Is it sunny or cloudy? Will it rain tomorrow? We practice these questions. I ask Maria, what is the weather like today? She answers, it is cloudy. Then Maria asks me, will it rain tomorrow? I say, I don't know. After that, the teacher explains how to talk about the seasons. She writes the names of the seasons on the board: spring, summer, fall, and winter. She asks, what season is it now? I think and say, it is winter. The teacher asks the class, what season is it in your country? Carlos says, it is summer. Maria says, it is fall. Then the teacher explains the weather in different seasons. She writes, in spring it is warm, in summer it is hot, in fall it is cool, and in winter it is cold. We repeat the sentences after her. I say, in winter it is cold, and Carlos says, in summer it is hot. The teacher gives us an exercise. She shows us pictures of different seasons. She asks, what season is this? I look at a picture of a beach and say, it is summer. Then she shows a picture of trees with no leaves and asks, what season is this? Carlos says, it is winter. We continue practicing with the pictures. Next, the teacher writes the word family on the board. She asks, who is in your family? I think for a moment and say, my family is my mother, my father, and my sister. The teacher writes my answer on the board. Then she asks the class, who is in your family? Carlos says, my family is my mother, my father, and my brother. Maria says, my family is my parents and my grandmother. The teacher then explains how to talk about family members. She writes, mother, father, sister, brother, grandmother, and grandfather. We repeat these words. The teacher asks, do you have a brother? I say, yes, I have a brother. Carlos says, no, I don't have a brother. Maria says, yes, I have a sister. After that, the teacher talks about pets. She writes the word pet on the board. She asks, do you have any pets? I think and say, yes, I have a dog. The teacher smiles and asks, what is the name of your dog? I say, my dog's name is Max. Carlos says, I have a cat and its name is Luna. Maria says, I don't have any pets. The teacher then explains how to talk about animals. She writes, dog, cat, bird, fish, and rabbit. We repeat these words. The teacher asks, do you have a pet? I say, yes, I have a dog. Carlos says, I have a cat. Maria says, I have a bird. The teacher gives us a fun exercise. She shows us pictures of pets and asks, what pet is this? I look at a picture of a dog and say, it's a dog. Then she shows a picture of a cat and asks, what pet is this? Carlos says, it's a cat. We practice with the pictures. Next, the teacher talks about hobbies again. She writes the word sports on the board. She asks, What sports do you play? I think for a moment and say, I play basketball. The teacher writes my answer on the board. Then she asks the class, what sports do you play? Carlos says, I play football. Maria says, I play tennis. The teacher then teaches us how to ask about sports. She writes, do you play football? What sport do you like? Do you like swimming? We practice these questions. I ask Carlos, do you play football? He answers, yes, I do. Carlos asks me, do you like swimming? I say, yes, I like swimming. After the lesson, the teacher says, good job today, everyone. See you tomorrow. We all smile and pack our things. I feel proud because I learned so much today. I feel happy because my English is getting better. I leave the classroom and walk to the bus stop. On the bus, I think about everything I learned today. I can talk about the weather, the seasons, my family, pets, and sports. I feel good because I am learning many new words. When I get home, I write the new words in my notebook. I practice using them in sentences. I say, I like swimming, my brother plays football, and it is cold in winter. I repeat these sentences to remember them better. Tomorrow I will learn more. I am excited for the next lesson. Every day my English gets better, and I will keep practicing. I know that soon I will be able to speak English very well.